Hi everybody, I'm Beebs Kelley. Welcome back to another video. We have got to talk about the Meg's weird appearance on the Drew Barrymore show. This was horribly cringe. It was rough. Let's take a look. First, we have giant man pants. The GMPs are out to play and they weren't invited. This is a disaster of an outfit for the Meg and it's really unfortunate. It's quite strange, actually, that she would have picked this to be her outfit because it's so frumpy and ill-fitting and just looks bad that I'm a bit befuddled, but also not, because she clearly has a thing for these pants. For whatever reason, she loves these giant trousers and she thinks they're great, but they're not. They are the opposite of what she needs. With Meghan's style concerns, while she does need to or benefit from adding a little bit of volume to the trouser, so wide leg or straight leg is okay, she has an extremely short torso and long lanky limbs. So by doing really incredibly high-waisted trousers that have a lot of pleats right here and a big chunky belt and a lot of extra volume and room and just come up so high, it's shortening her torso even more and it's adding visual weight to her torso on top of it. So it's making her look like a big wide square on stilts, and that's just unfortunate. Also, the sleeveless top just doesn't really vibe with this time of year. We saw Kate Hudson come on like the next day or the next week and she was wearing long sleeves. Drew Barrymore is wearing long sleeves. Meghan's the only one there in tank top and it's cold, you know? I think this is filmed in New York, so it's really cold. So it feels a little out of place to be in a tank top as well. But let me just come out of the gate with this moment right here that stood out to me the most and has haunted me ever since. Meghan is talking about Harry.
And so I will tell you just, when I was a babysitter nanny for 2 Irish Catholic families when I was in college.
She kind of randomly, like she does, it doesn't really flow. She's just like, this is something I want to say, so I'm going to plug it in wherever, even if it doesn't really make sense. She sort of randomly starts talking about this and she launches into this story.
And one of the dads said to me, he's like, Meghan, when you meet your person one day.
But watch this. I will only be able to include a tiny little snippet because it'll get copyrighted. But watch what she does here. I'll tell you what she's saying. She's saying, when I was in college, and she glances back and off to her right shoulder in a really dramatic way, as you can see here. And she says, when I was in college, I was nanny to 2 Irish Catholic families. What are the odds? And the dad said to me, one of the dads said to me that he hopes that when I find my person, they date me forever. Like, when you're married, that you still have the vibe of like dating one another to show, that you're keeping the spark alive or something like that.
I want him to say to you the same thing that I said to my wife when we got married, which is, I vow to always date my wife. And I told H that when we started dating. He goes, I vow to always date you.
I have so many questions about the content of what she just said, but what caught my eye and felt so bizarre is the way she looks off to her right shoulder so dramatically when she launches into this story, because that's something we often do when we're fabricating things. When we're lying about something, we glance off to our right side because we're having to come up with something. We're making it up. And she did it so dramatic and so exaggeratedly that it's so obvious and so bizarre that you can't deny it. You can't deny that this is a lie based on just her vibe. Like, even if you didn't know that about body language, you would still see that and think, something's off here, because our brain subconsciously picks up on these cues. So why lie about it? Why not just say, Harry and I wanted to, or promised each other, or love the idea of striving to date each other through our marriage, so that we keep that spark alive and we keep that context of appreciation of time with one another. Why lie and push the responsibility of that idea onto someone else and say, someone told me that, and then I told Harry that, and then he said he would do that for me? What a bizarre way to go about it. Quite frankly, it would have been better from a PR perspective for her to just say, Harry and I vowed to each other that we would always date each other no matter what, no matter how many years it had been. Why not just give yourselves credit for that decision? Why make something up? It's so bizarre. She does this all the time. Every single project, every single name of her projects, companies, books, anything she does, every single venture she's tried, she has blamed someone else for. The Bench was a friend who basically forced her to publish it because it was so inclusive and so great. It wasn't. The show being called With Love, Meghan was someone else's idea. The Netflix series was someone else's idea, that they create a sort of documentary vibe about their lives, whatever. All of it's someone else's idea, and this, somebody else told it to her. Does Meghan have any agency whatsoever? Even when she was talking about her time with the royal family, she blamed them for everything. She blamed them for her fashion choices, that she thought she could only wear bland colors, when in reality, she clearly just really likes bland colors. She blames everyone, good or bad, for everything. She takes no responsibility for anything she does or says, even if it's good or bad. It doesn't matter. She just pushes it off immediately. It's very strange, very bizarre. But the content of what she said is also super strange. Who is this dad who's hired you as a babysitter and is talking to you about one day finding your person? Who? What? Why would that ever happen and come up? Why would he ever say such a thing to you? How strange. What a weird lie to make. Anyway, this whole thing was, per usual for Meghan, cringy, self-absorbed, me the whole time. Rough. Really rough. Another point, there's been a lot of speculation about Meghan Markle's height. And this is a great opportunity to highlight her height. Drew Barrymore is like 5'4", I think. Meghan is like 5'6", and this looks like that's true because they're both wearing heels, and Meghan is a little taller than Drew and a little bigger than Drew, a little broader than Drew. So I do think she is about 5'6". Also note here, this is, not the best angle. I'm not trying to be weird, but it does show her body structure really well. Because as you can see, her hips are narrower than her shoulder line. So anybody who's had any questions about Meghan Markle's figure, whether she leans apple or not, she does look like she leans apple a lot of the time because she pushes her stomach forward and her pelvis back, sort of. And she has kind of a bit of a strange posture some of the time. And so she can look a little apple-y at times. She lacks a well-defined waist, which apples often do. But because her shoulders are her widest point, that I think is the most dominant. Whatever is your widest point is usually the most dominant because it adds so much visual weight. That is the most dominant in styling. So here you can see clearly that the shoulder line is her widest point. She would have benefited from wearing like a dress like this. Something that had some softness to it, maybe a little bit of a wrap dress, something that had a bit of an A-line to the skirt, ever so slight flare to the skirt. She would have looked a lot more polished and balanced. Like her body would have just looked better if she would have worn something like this. Instead, we have a front attack. This woman needs to calm down. Look at her. She is out of control. When Drew asks Meghan about Mindy, she says that she loves the episode with Mindy because they do the kids' party. That was so great and so cute. I haven't gotten there yet. You guys, I'm really slow with these things. I don't have 8 hours to invest in watching Meghan's show. It's not happening anytime soon. It's going to be a while. But anyway, she says Mindy is such a rock star, Drew says. And Meghan says, yes, I love Mindy, but let me tell you more about my show and who I chose to have on. Here, Meghan is clapping back at some of the rumors that she's not a great friend and doesn't have, a lot of long-term friendships that have been successful. Because there's been reports that Meghan has dropped friends. When she got with Harry, she dropped a bunch of friends for her wedding. If you don't know, she had a lunch reception and an evening reception, and it got leaked that Meghan was saying that the lunch reception was for the old group of friends and the evening reception was for the new group of friends. So if you weren't invited to the new group of friends, you basically were ghosted after the wedding. But anyway, Meghan is using this as an opportunity to clap back at some of that and talking about who her guests were, that there were people she didn't know as well and people that she did know really well who she thought was nice to have come on the show. But I thought it was kind of weird the way she said this. She said, you want to have those people who have been friends since like middle school, but then you also equally want to have new people who meet you where you are today, as in like wealth? Is that what she meant? Like she wanted people who were also rich or famous to be on her show? That was kind of a weird and clunky way to say whatever she was trying to say. What do you think she was trying to say with that? Next, Drew brings up Harry, and this is clapping back at the divorce rumors, which, as I've always said, I don't think they're going to get divorced anytime soon. I think that's just a rumor. I don't think everything is peachy, but I don't think that they're on the track for divorce. And so Meghan is using this as an opportunity to clap back at that, having Drew say like, yeah, you're always holding hands. You're always so affectionate with each other. And that's what leads them into the faux story of always dating each other. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. And that's a fine approach and ethos to have within a relationship. But to lie about how you arrived there just makes the whole thing seem disingenuous. Like you're lying about the whole thing then. Do you actually treat each other that way? It's so bizarre. And kind of a weird and clunky thing to include in a daytime show also. A weird line of questioning. You know, they do discuss what they're going to talk about before they come out here. So obviously Meghan had her little agenda and her checklist of things that she wanted to correct the record on. And Drew is playing along. That's part of the game. I am surprised that Meghan agreed to come on this show, though, because Meghan is just not personable enough, I feel. And I feel like she's running the risk of Drew sort of seeing through her here. And then Drew says that she actually met Princess Diana one time and she's a fan of Prince Harry. Fine. And then she says, and he found you, as if to be like, well, then you must be awesome also. And Meghan is trying to say what she likes about Harry, but she's shaking her head no the whole time, which is a bit of a strange body language moment. I'm sure there's some experts who could do a better job of figuring out exactly what's going on there. Why is she shaking her head no while she's saying that he's the sweetest guy? She says he's the funniest, sweetest, most charming. Maybe. Or maybe she feels conflicted about it. I can't tell because she's shaking her head no. But she says, I didn't expect to meet H, and I didn't expect for this to be our love story. Why not just say marriage, life partner, something like that? The phrase love story is really becoming problematic. I think we'll do a video purely on Meghan's obsession with making this a love story and always saying love story stuff, because it's actually, from a PR perspective, a bit of a mistake. Because it sets this sort of standard similar to the obsession with holding hands, that then when you're not holding hands, it draws more attention to why aren't they holding hands? Are they fighting? It's the same sort of a thing. So maybe we'll save that for another video, the pitfalls of constantly pushing a love story rather than leaving the audience, the public, to say that about you. You're telling them what to say. Big mistake. Back to the dating each other thing. As I was saying, I think I got sidetracked or distracted. I'm sorry, I'm a little unorganized today. Meghan could have made this relatable by saying through all the challenges, the huge adjustments that you go through when you have new children, new babies added to the family, when you move overseas, she could have touched on all of those things. When you have businesses that you're launching or pressures of work and daily life, and you have all these things up in the air, to find time to still feel like you're dating your spouse is what we strive for. By tying in the fact and acknowledging the fact that there is always going to be challenges, there's always going to be times where you don't agree with your spouse about this, that, or the other thing. To acknowledge that you're anchoring yourself to this concept or this ethos of we will always date each other would have been a lot more relatable had she brought in that it's a balance to those more challenging times, and that's what she feels works well for her and Harry to get through those more challenging times, or to not let those things become consuming or take over or whatever, or be disruptive, because they keep that in mind no matter what's going on. That would have been a great opportunity to provide that relatability and connect with the audience a little bit better, but instead she keeps fake fantasy land that everything is just 100% peachy 100% of the time, which removes that relatability and the authentic potential of such a comment. You know what else I'm noticing? Drew hasn't talked in forever, and Meghan is just rambling on and on about school drop-off and lunch dates with Harry. Run-of-the-mill stuff, not very interesting, removing the relatability from it, and not letting Drew have a chance to throw in any sort of validation or stimulating conversation. One-sided conversations are not fun. They're not fun to listen to, and they're not fun to be in. And Drew looks annoyed here at this moment. And Meghan's doing that fake yelling sort of a thing that she's been doing lately, where she's like, we're getting the things ready, and we're doing this, and we're doing that, and we're doing school drop-off, and then we have lunch together. What's you doing? How's your meetings going? And then back to it. Where she's like fake yelling. And she keeps pausing, thinking the audience is going to clap because Harry and Meghan have lunch together every day. They didn't clap. And Drew's face looks like this. Like, okay. Meghan continues snowballing this whole thing where she's not letting Drew interject or join the conversation at all. She's just steamrolling the whole thing. Meghan now launches into talking about how when she's out of town, she brings a thin book and videotapes herself reading it so that they can show it to the kids. Makes no sense. Wouldn't it make more sense to just videotape yourself at home, reading a book from home, so you don't have to pack it and you don't have to film it from your hotel room? Or bring the thin book, or we've seen Meghan's luggage, bring a thick book. Who cares? The kids' books can only be so thick and heavy. Bring a book and do like a Zoom call, or I guess FaceTime is a thing that people do. Why not do something like that? A video call? Like live, rather than filming it. This makes no sense. And therefore, I don't believe it. So the best part of the interview was Meghan revealing why they named it Suits and what the show was originally going to be named. The rest of it was just run-of-the-mill, boring stuff. I think one of the biggest challenges for Meghan is that she tries to deliver just everyday mundane details, thinking that they'll be relatable and show people a more relatable human side. The problem is that she goes on and on about it in a way that makes it seem like she thinks it's the most amazing, spectacular thing. Instead, it would be better to shift her approach away from talking about herself so much and to talk outwardly about other things and other people and other experiences more, and talk about her gratitude for those experiences more. That, I think, would be a much more successful approach and strategy. But what did you think of her appearance on Drew? Did you watch it? What did you think? If you contrast it with Kate Hudson's, who made like almost like a take on birria tacos, I think it's a huge contrast and shows you how Drew behaves when she actually does like her guests. I hope you enjoyed today's video. I will be back soon with more content, and I hope you have a happy day ahead. I'll see you next time. Bye!